Life can be fast-paced, strenuous, and flat-out overwhelming. Life transitions and taboo topics can make it hard to catch your breath. Welcome to Breathe, a podcast that enables you to slow down, get your bearings, and engage in real conversations where no topic is off limits. Breathe is presented by Breath of Life, hosted by David Person and speaker-director Pastor Debleaire Snell.
Welcome to Breathe. I'm David Person. And of course, it would not be Breathe without Pastor Debleaire Snell, Speaker Director of Breath of Life and the Senior Pastor of the Oakwood University Church. How's it going, sir?
Hello, my brother. It's good to be here with you and Kirk on another Monday. Start of another week. Boom. There we go.
Yes, indeed.
There we go.
That's right. And Kirk is also Pastor Kirk Nugent.
Hey, man, I appreciate
media
that.
Pastor at Oakwood.
Yes, indeed.
And the media guru here at Breath of Life.
Breath of Life, man. Yes. I love Breathe. I got to tell you, I enjoy the podcast. I do listen. I want to say that as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's a fun podcast.
Absolutely.
It's informative. People have been responding to it, and I love that.
Yeah.
Praise God for that.
Yeah.
So, speaking of responding, there are times in life where we need help. And that is something that especially men are accused of not doing so well.
That
I
is
don't
so
know
true.
if you've heard
That's
that from the women in your life. I've heard it from the women in
That
my
is
life.
so true.
Oh, yeah.
That is so true.
So what should we dispel that?
I hear a lot of lady amens, and I just felt it come through. Right? A lot of female amens in the audience today.
Yeah. No, it is not an untrue statement. I mean,
so?
no, I don't think so at all. I think men do struggle with saying it, and it's probably a part of your upbringing. And I think there is a generation coming up now that may not struggle as much,
right? Yeah,
because we've tried to course correct. But I think we don't we don't ask for help much.
So we equate not needing help with being strong or something, or brave or whatever it is.
Yeah. In fact, I would even go a step further and say even the ability to apologize, to say I'm sorry. We sometimes conflate with.
Hey, Kirk, you saying too much today. You're giving these ladies too much, man. You're giving them too much ammunition. No, I'm just kidding.
There's going to be some marriage counseling sessions coming up here after this conversation. And another thing.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
No, but I think I just firmly believe that the ability to assess and recognize that I'm banging my head against the wall here, or I've come up against something that I've never done before, and I'm completely out of my depths, or I have tried and I'm just not in a space. Maybe I was at a different point in my life, but today I'm not strong enough to be able to say. Because I think the challenge for many of us is that we'll take the inability to say I need help into our relationship with God. And that will mess us up and rob us from help that is available. I'm not speaking from without today. I'm speaking from within. This is my lived experience. There are times where I felt, man, Kirk, why didn't you just ask? You could have saved yourself all kinds of struggle and heartache if you just asked for some help.
I think it's that's a very powerful statement because the only thing that's worse than not having help is having help and you don't avail yourself of it. So that I've come to believe, because God says, I will satisfy the desire of every living creature. I think that there are times where God, even anticipating our need, whatever it is, whether it is financial, medical, social, relational, I think he assigns it for a season. But I think that if you are so stubborn or hard-hearted, and honestly, I do think one of the great cancers to the soul is that sense of self-sufficiency, self-reliance, self-dependent, a self-made man. I pull myself up from my bootstraps, mumbo jumbo, right? I think that mentality will actually cause the help that has been assigned to expire.
Mercy.
And sometimes by the time life bottoms out.
Yeah.
And now you're saying, there's no help for me.
Yeah.
No, it's just you didn't avail yourself of it when it was available. And see, this is the thing I think that's really critical. In the book of Ecclesiastes, the Bible says 2 are better than 1.
Yeah.
Talks about how if one falls, who's gonna pick him up?
Yeah.
If one by himself can't keep warm, but together, 2 can make each other warm.
Yeah.
If a robber comes,
at least
he's one by himself, he can be overtaken. But the 2 can overpower him. He talks about how threefold cord is not easily broken.
Yeah.
And so I just think that like this idea of just being this self-sufficient person, I think it's flawed. It's anti-Bible. It's anti-God. And there's this old song that just says, man, there's going to come a time where we all need somebody to lean on.
Yes, sir.
And I just think that like this idea, like I would even hear people in my inner circle, and I can hear them talk about how like, well, and God blessed me to where I ain't never had to ask nobody for nothing. And, and praise God if that's the case. But, there was probably some times where you needed to ask somebody for somebody and you just didn't. The fact that you didn't mean you didn't need to. And so I do think that life has these tremendous ebbs and flows to it. I think that there are seasons ahead of some of us that you cannot foresee at all today. So even when we think about Jesus, why did he invite Peter, James, and John to come to him with the Garden of Gethsemane? Like he came out and found them asleep. He was just like, man,
come on, guys.
Can I get you to pray for me at least 1 hour? Because even in his hour of his greatest agony, Jesus required or desired companionship, somebody to carry the load with him, someone to stand with him in sorrow.
That's it.
And it's funny because like, there's an amazing story of how Paul and Silas are jailed because they cast the demon out of the young girl, and how the Bible says at midnight, they were heard praying and singing praises unto God. But I think that one of the things that strengthened them for that adversity is that they had somebody to harmonize with.
Right.
Come on. They had somebody to sing together with and encourage one another in the Lord. And so I just think that, man, whether it is illness, whether it's a job thing, a marriage thing, a spiritual thing, like we're created for community. And at some point you got to have just, I don't want to say humility. Well, maybe it's humility to just say, hey, man, I need somebody to talk to. I need somebody to pray with. I'm confused.
Right.
I don't know what to do.
Right.
And I just think the worst thing to not having help is that I let my help season expire, or I had resources or people at my disposal, and I just chose not to.
And pride, I think you're right, is the impediment. For most of us. Pride, or maybe fear too, to some degree. But I'd say pride probably more than
probably
anything.
the chief culprit in that regard.
Mercy.
By the way, I love that Bill Withers.
Bill Withers.
Reference. That's nice. That's one of those songs. For you young people.
Young people. That's right. Yeah.
Bill Withers. And
Lean on Me.
That's one of those songs that was so. It was a pop song or a pop R&B song that was so intrinsically spiritual.
Yeah, it was.
That it ended up in this little book that they gave us back in the 70s at church of songs that we could sing in church.
Wow.
It was in there.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like,
that's amazing.
I guess I'm just that much.
No. I know which book you're talking about. Yeah.
Blue paper.
It was a blue. It was a blue
right?
book, but it had the papers in there.
Right.
Almost. I don't even feel like somebody put it
No,
together.
I never saw it in church. That's what me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We all have pain. We all have sorrows.
That's it.
That's
it. That's it. Love that song.
Yeah, that's good right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad used to ask us for help as kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he would be like, "Hey, can you help me? With the car." I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But he asked me to come and help him. I just felt good that I could go and help Dad. And so I'm trying to portray the flip of it. Because you talked about your help season expiring. Ooh, that's so powerful. But I want people to kind of recognize that the activity of asking someone for help also brings them into your sphere and gives you an opportunity to pour into them just because you've asked them to come alongside and help.
Yeah.
So it isn't just from I'm weak or I'm tired, I'm broken, I'm disabled.
Yeah.
Man, asking for help actually can sometimes put you in a position of authority.
Yeah.
Because when I came to help my dad, I was now looking for him. Give me that tool, all right? Turn it clockwise. I was there to help, but I was being instructed.
Right.
And I think even we see that in the Bible as well with some of the apostles who called people alongside them to help in certain seasons, but they still gave them instruction.
Yeah.
And these are the opportunities we miss when we don't open ourselves up to living together, doing life together with people.
And sometimes what it is it's us forfeiting the favor of God. Oof. Like literally, there have been people in my life, David, where, it's funny, and not all of those relationships were permanent. Some of them were very seasonal, where God just at these providential intersections put this person to be a mentor, this person to be a prayer warrior, this person to just counsel and give encouragement, so on and so forth. And there are times where just because I availed myself, like just even certain leadership values, when I was a student here, Dr. Kirk Nugent was the Dean of Student Services. And then so I didn't really come in and be like, yo, would you help me? But I would just come in and sit down. And I ain't gonna lie, it's just like sitting at the feet of an oracle. It's just like, and he would just gracious with his time. Yeah. He would just pour things in that help shape and kind of create a framework for the way I lead and see the world and interact with God. But but I do believe he was assigned, and we're still friends to this day. But there have just been people where, they're just, it's kind of funny. I had some little old church ladies in church in Mississippi and Kentucky, and I can't really explain it. There have just been times where things were lean financially, and there was no way they could have known. And they would just show up at the end of an AY with groceries for Gianna and myself. And
Mercy.
And there was times where I kind of wanted to be like, oh, I don't want them to think I'm broke, I'm poor, I'm a preacher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, I had to kind of, the wisdom of Gianna be like, back up. Let the Lord do his work. You see what I'm saying?
And that's why you say forfeiting.
Right. You're forfeiting the favor of God because God saw and put it in advance and placed it, but you got to be willing to receive it. And so don't forfeit the favor that God puts in your life. Because sometimes it's not even sometimes and what would throw me is I've not really even done anything for this person. I haven't done anything to warrant that. But that's just favor.
That's it.
And there's just times where God puts you on people's mind. He awakens them. He quickens them. And he aims their resources in your direction. But you've got to have the humility and just providential awareness to say, all right, Lord, you're up to something.
I receive it.
And I'm going to walk in that. And it's not always financial. It's wisdom, it's counsel, it's direction. It's a variety of things.
And that's what I was thinking about earlier. When we think about asking for help, how do we contextualize that in terms of our relationship with God, the God who already knows we need help before we know we need help?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Very much.
I mean, so how do we...
Yeah.
How do we execute that in relationship with God?
Yeah.
Is what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, no, I just think so when we make our requests known unto the Lord and we ask God to order our steps and give direction, I just think that, Ellen White makes a statement that says God has 1,000 ways to provide for us that we know not of. And so I just think when we make our requests known to the Lord, there are just different ways where God is going to send provision, clarity, wisdom, direction. And I think the one thing you got to do, and this is really critical, is don't create a profile for how the need is going to be met. Don't create this rubric that says, this is how it's going to come. Because it may come a different avenue, a different way. It may come in a package that you didn't necessarily anticipate. Even it's funny, in the last probably 10 years, the Lord has allowed me to develop, you know, when you're a certain age, most of your friends are your age.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, in the last probably 10, maybe 10, 12, 15 years, God has just assigned, for whatever reason, this group of older men.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, I didn't ask for it. I didn't seek it out. And it's funny, I probably early on, just in ignorance, kind of drew from it and was suspicious because I'm like, all right, you're a certain age, you know,
Right.
But like, man, these men have been such a blessing. Like, I mean, just, you know, we just need somebody to listen to trust. They've been there, done that, so on and so forth, You know, so I'm just saying, you just can't create a profile that says this is, you know, where the Lord is going, how the Lord is going, because God can bless you in ways that you can't see, and He'll use people that you certainly would not choose.
Now, I this is so good. I got a quick little testimony on this one. So recently, family and I we're looking at the numbers, and we're trying to see how certain things are going to go. We got some projects coming down the line, some different things we want to get paid, and so, you know, we're an entrepreneurial family, so we're in business, and so we just said, okay, God, you know, you do it in whatever way you see fit.
Yeah.
And a client hit me up that I had worked with before, and they are on the list. You know, the do not call back list.
The do not call back list.
You know what I'm talking about. And that client hit me up, and I said, Lord, I don't know if this is you. But I decided, you know, I'm going to give that. My dad, you know, gave me this piece of wisdom long ago. He says, never turn down work. Just make sure you charged an amount that allows you to smile while you're doing it.
There you go.
So I gave him my quote. I gave him my link. I gave him the fee. And this guy paid me. And the engagement has been the most uneventful, positive.
Wow.
And I'm just blown away like, who's this guy? This is the same guy that was on the list. And it just confirmed for me. And we were talking about this last night in family worship. I was saying to the kids, man, you just never know how God's going to bring it through. You just never know how God's going to do it. You just have no clue. And He'll bring it through a source, just like you said, that you would be like, no, God, you're not using him. But that's exactly how He decided to do it. So, you know, and again, if you could be prideful, and you cut off your nose, essentially. I mean, because that's how God was intending to meet that particular need. So,
very much.
Being able to be real in those scenarios and be sensitive, as you said as well, it really does make the difference in terms of being able to recognize where your help comes from.
There you go.
So, final question. Do we believe that God helps those who help themselves?
This statement.
It's so funny how certain things become gospel, like all the time.
Somebody's trying to find where it is in the word right now.
I guess if you just say it enough times, it becomes gospel.
God helps those who help themselves.
So, of course, we believe faith without works is dead, right?
I do believe that.
I don't know if God helps those who help themselves. I think God helps those who realize they can't help themselves. I think God helps those who can recognize a need and recognize that He is their source, and that seek direction and counsel from Him, and they're open, you know, to receive, you know, favor and blessings however God sends it. And so, you know, I just think that, you know, we've tried to make self-reliance a spiritual virtue, and it's just not.
Right.
I think that God is going to put you in a position, in many cases, to be a tremendous blessing to others, and I think that there are going to be seasons where God positions others to be a blessing to you. And I think God helps those who recognize that ultimately, you know, your help comes from the Lord, but God uses people as the conduit through which He sends His blessings earthward toward men.
That's so good, so succinct as well. The only thing I'd add there is I think we've taken sitting still and waiting on God out of the realm of activity. So we say, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, I'm waiting on God. Well, God helps those who help. See, that's where that phrase comes in. You got to start helping yourself. Well, I feel like if I'm going to help myself, I'm going to mess it up. And I in this particular instance, I think I'm gonna wait. I'm talking with a friend right now, a younger guy. He's trying to figure out whether he should pop the question. I'm like, Doc, take a step back. Pause a little bit. It's not going out of style. It's not going out of fashion.
Right.
You know, because brother, that thing is for life.
It's for life.
And you need to make if all the decisions. Let me be clear, fam. All the decisions that are out there to make. that one you need, Lord help us. You've got to get that one right.
And what young people may not realize is it's for life, even if you end up being divorced.
Say that like 5 more times. Say that 5 more times.
It's for life, even
it's
if
for
you're
life.
divorced, because you're forever bonded to that person.
So true.
Especially if you have children.
Kids,
But even if you don't.
Yeah, even beyond when they get 18.
Say
it again one more time.
Turn
to the camera and say it.
I know. This is somebody who knows.
This is the testimony.
Testimony. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I mean, there are complications that come along with it because of the dissolution of the marriage.
The marriage. Man, that's a powerful statement.
Taking a pause.
And
waiting and listening and being sensitive to the Spirit of God in those moments. Haste does not necessarily make it righter. It just means you've eliminated your opportunity to really hear clearly from God where you would need to go next. And that's the only thing I would add to that thing. Being able to ask for help is putting yourself in a posture, in a position of saying, God, I know what you have said of me, and I'm choosing to believe and stand on your word.
Stand on your word. If I could just throw this out here before you take us to the crib for the day, is so there's just some areas I do think we should probably be a little bit more willing to kind of seek help or guidance. So like just certain things. Like, I mean, it's not like this desperate thing for some, but it will be if you don't. So like when you talked about men, certain things like going to the doctor.
Please
to find out what is happening inside of you. Like even sometimes religious people, I heard people say, like they're going because I'm not going to claim this disease. I'm not going to claim blood pressure or diabetes or can't. Like, well, if you have it, it doesn't matter if you claim it
or not.
It's claimed you.
That's right.
And I think that there are times where we try to mask fear with faith. And we think it's faith to not know. But like, no, God says my people are destroyed by a lack of knowledge. And there are just way too many things, Dave, in our community that wind up having fatal implications just because we would not seek early detection and give the Lord room through counsel and wisdom to be able to have certain things and crisis moments averted. So I just think we got to be willing, especially as men, prostate, colon, all men and women, just to be aware and seek help. There are times where I just think we go through spiritual seasons where we're frustrated, drifting, straying, backsliding, and that is not unique to you. It is all of humanity.
Everyone.
This pastor sitting here included, right? I'm just saying there are going to be times where you got to call somebody like, yo, man, I'm in a funk. I'm in a drought. Would you, I just need a little clarity. I need to pour my soul out. I need to seek prayer and guidance and direction. I think if you're in a state where before a marriage gets to a point where there is so much resentment and hurt and brokenness to where the road to healing feels unattainable. Like when you feel it slipping, just like when your car, there's a check engine light that kind of comes up. And it's better to sit down with somebody that can help you process it, get the tools and kind of work through some things. And so I just think that, whether it's relational, spiritual, health, like financial, there are some of us that just like, it's not that you don't make enough money. You just maybe you just don't have great number sense. You don't know how to, as John Ramsey said, you don't know how to tell Dave Ramsey tell it where to go. So I just think that we are destroyed by a lack of knowledge. Knowing is never our enemy. It never lessens us. And so I just think there are a lot of areas where we should really, really be just saying, okay, there's no need for me to go at this alone. None of us are omniscient.
Emotional too.
And emotional,
If you need to go sit on the couch.
There's
I'm so glad you said that. Wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Again, speaking as somebody who knows, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Emotional as well. You're giving, you're just like you said, you're getting tools to be able to handle down the line. But even with the tools, sometimes you still need to go back and get a recalibration, you get some more sharpening. Being able to ask for help in all of these areas is a sign of maturity.
I love the transparency that I've heard here today because, I think a lot of times people don't think about you pastors as being in the same category as the rest of us who need help, who need counsel, right? Who need sometimes professional.
Need professional. Oh, yes.
So God bless you both for your transparency.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Pastor Debleaire Snell and Pastor Kirk Nugent, keeping it real.
Come on, man.
Breathe. Yeah. Appreciate that. God bless you both, and God bless you as you try to keep it real in your life. When you're facing challenges, get some help.
That's right.
And if you're hesitant to do that, check yourself. Check your pride.
Yeah.
Stop, pray, and breathe.
Breathe is produced by David Person for Breath of Life. Executive producer is Debleaire Snell, and sound engineer is Kirk Nugent. Audio episodes of Breathe can be found on Apple, Spotify, or Google Podcast platforms. For video episodes and extra content, check out the Breath of Life YouTube channel. Breath of Life is faith-based content, resources, and programs from a contemporary urban perspective for those looking for hope and guidance. We believe that every breath we take is a testimony that God is consistent, that He loves us, and has a plan for our lives.